Everyone. Welcome everyone. We'll be starting in a few minutes as everyone's joining. What a beautiful evening we have. I'll start the meeting in about 2 minutes, so just get yourself settled and we'll be starting soon. I'll start at 6:35. If anyone wants to. Give time. I think spring has finally arrived, right? We got the leaves coming out. I noticed the perennials are coming out. It's definitely spring is here.
We've got some turtles on the river as well.
Wow, turtles.
Yeah, I saw a couple the other day.
Awesome.
Is it a risky prediction to say it's spring yet? Are we tempting fate?
I think so.
Or a Colorado low?
The white-throated sparrows are here. That's a good indication.
Just one more minute and we'll be ready to start. Great to see everyone tonight. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to our annual general meeting of Save Our Seine. Wonderful to see everyone again this year. I'm Lori Ringart, and I'm the president of Save Our Seine. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. It's, I think, our third AGM now on Zoom, and it's a pleasure to be here. Perhaps in the coming next year, we might actually see everyone in person, but we were just being cautious again this year as we were planning. We have to start planning this back in February, as you know. So I'd like to move on to our land acknowledgement. And I'd like to start off by saying that Save Our Seine is located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji-Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, and in the homeland of the Métis Nation. We honor and respect the Seine River and its surrounding land that we provide stewardship for at this time. And it is an honor for us to be here as stewards of this land, all of us here in this Zoom room tonight. So thank you for being here. Next item of business is confirmation of quorum, and we do have quorum tonight. That's confirmed. The agenda was sent out to all members in advance, and the I just like a motion to accept the agenda as circulated.
I'll
By
move.
Dennis DePatt, and second Isabel. All in favor, you can raise your hand. You can also use your hand at the bottom, the reaction. Okay, that's carried. Thank you. So going on to recognition. So I'll just say that our agenda tonight, we'll be looking at recognition. Then we'll be looking at the minutes and the finances and election, the business of the meeting, recognition of leading board directors. And then in part E, we'll look at an overview of last year of 2022, and then talk about what's happening for 2023. A lot of exciting stuff happening here in 2023. And then we'll have time for a discussion. And then concluding remarks. So some recognition. First of all, I wanted to talk about our donors and funders. And so if you can show me that slide, Ryan. Just recognizing all of our important donors and funders. First of all, we have 2 operating grants, one from the City of Winnipeg, one from the Sisters of Our Lady of the Missions, which we really appreciate. They're really important to our funding for our executive director, managing director position. So we're very appreciative of those. Corporate donations, you can see we've a number of corporate donations in 2022 that very much appreciate. And our employment programs, last year we were able to get funding from Manitoba government, Urban Green Team, Canada Summer Jobs, and Nature Canada that helped us with employment of staff. And we were very fortunate last year to get a Manitoba government Building Sustainable Communities program grant, which really helped us with a lot of our programming. And that was with our Urban Restoration Enhancement pilot project. I'd also like to recognize many donors that we have, individual donors that provide donations throughout the year to Save Our Seine, and we really want to recognize all of you and all of those donors for those donations. So thank you, thank you. Next slide, I wanted to recognize just that we have a huge team really that helps keep Save Our Seine going, and this includes we have a number of board directors, as you know, many people on committees, we have staff, and we have people who are volunteers. We also have operational consultants. So all of these people are really what really make Save Our Seine the operation that it is. So really thank you to everyone that's been involved with Save Our Seine during 2022. So thank you. And over to you, Dennis.
Yeah, hi, first of all, hi everyone, and it's great to see so many of you here at our annual general meeting. Save Our Seine is really fortunate to have so many people who are supporters of our organization. So thanks a lot for all being here. And you know what, I'm really pleased tonight to tell you about a special award that our SOS president, Lori Ringert, received last winter. In December of last year, Lori was one of 10 St. Vital individuals awarded the Queen Elizabeth II Platinum Jubilee Medal for her dedication and devotion to making a difference in the St. Vital community. You see this picture here, it's Lori at the awards ceremony with her sponsor, Jamie Moses, the MLA for St. Patel. This award recognizes Lori's leadership, her hard work in 8 years as a board director, treasurer, and president of Save Our Seine, guiding the organization's efforts to protect, to preserve, enhance, restore, repair, and raise the awareness of the Seine River Greenway. Since last fall, as part of her role as the president of Save Our Seine, Lori's been very busy, playing a key role in SOS applying for 7 grants that are worth almost $250,000. Most of these grants have come in, and this ensures that we will have a very productive upcoming couple of years at Save Our Seine. On top of that, we're very fortunate at SOS that Lori has indicated she's willing to serve as our president of Save Our Seine for another 2 years. She'll be on the nomination slate later on this evening when we vote for the board directors. So Lori, congratulations for receiving this award. It's a great honor, both for you, Lori, but also for Save Our Seine. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dennis. And I just want to really thank my sponsor, Jamie Moses, for putting my name forth for this. I really accepted this on behalf of Save Our Seine, really, that it's the work of Save Our Seine that's really behind all of this. So I'm just humbly accepted that award on behalf of Save Our Seine, really. So thank you. It's truly an honor. So I wanted to move on to some recognizing our elected officials, and I understand we have a number of elected officials here tonight, and we have a number of MLAs here. We have a number of city councilors, and I just wanted to start off by saying if any of the elected officials would like to say a few words, just raise your hand and we will spotlight you, and you're welcome to say a few words. And I see MLA Dougal Lamont, you've got your hand. You can start off.
Yeah, I just want to thank you so much, because I know, look, Save Your Seine does a really amazing work. I was out on the banks. I just reached out to Ryan because I know that there's an issue we're facing with some really serious loss of riverbank that needs to be dealt with. But you guys do tremendous work. I won't take much longer than that, but I will say that people are mentioning some of the other animals. I have a bird feeder outside of my house. My kids have been going down to the river and they chased a beaver for half a kilometer. I've been catching frogs, and they haven't been chasing. I've been trying to discourage them from chasing the deer at the Norwood Community Center. I don't know if that's very safe. But you know, you do great work, and I'm really, you should be very proud of yourselves, because we're very proud of you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lamont, and we really appreciate your support. And I'd like to recognize Honorable Audrey Gordon.
Thank you, Lori, and I'll be quick because I see a lot of politicians' hands up. Congratulations to your committee on all the great work that you've done over the years and over the past year. You know, I always enjoy the locations that you've done great work. Your paths, we talked a little bit about work you were doing with Niagara Golf and Country Club, and just see lots of opportunities to support you going forward. So congratulations to you and your entire team. And thanks for the invitation to join you tonight. Looking forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure that you've joined us tonight. I know you're so busy. And thank you. And let's go to the Honorable Andrew Smith.
Thank you, Laurie, and again, congratulations on the Jubilee Award. Well deserved, and I'll keep it quick here. Just keep up the good work. I know Save Our Seine does tremendous work in the community, and know how important it is not only to certainly the natural beauty along the Seine River, but the residents I know thoroughly enjoy it, myself included. The Seine River path and all that has been a tremendous plus for our community, and really appreciate all the work that you do to keep the natural beauty in our community thriving and surviving. I want to say I know that a few of my colleagues are here from the Manitoba Legislature. One person in particular who couldn't make it was Minister Squires. She wanted to be here, but unfortunately she's stuck in committee as we speak. So she wanted to greens on her behalf and talk about how much she appreciates what you do. And again, with my department, municipal relations, I'm glad to see that building sustainable communities and Green Team has been very, very good to the Save Our Seine organization.
Thank you so much, Mr. Smith. And I'd like to go to Janice Morley-LeConte, Honorable Janice Morley-LeConte.
Okay, hi, sorry about that. I'd also like to express my congratulations to you for winning the Queen's Jubilee Award, and to thank Save Our Seine and everyone who gives their time and talent to working to restore the river, to maintaining the river, for all the planting, the trees, and for the natural habitat that is preserved as a result of all the work that you do. So thank you so much. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your support. I'd like to move on now to Councillor Brian Mays. And Councillor Mays has been a long-time supporter of Save Our Seine, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Brian. No?
His mic's not working.
Yeah,
Is
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, now, yeah.
I'll be brief. Three things. Work continues on the Sumka Forest project. We've had meetings with provincial, federal, the mayor. We're continuing to try and work on it, Marcus and I. Hope it's been a long road, but we are continuing to work on that. A newer development, I was happy to talk to Ryan and others about. The city slated to spend $160 million over in St. Boniface, but 10% of that is to be green infrastructure. And Save Our Seine's actually been kind of a leader on the green infrastructure around the Superstore project. So that is sort of a medium-term initiative that the city will be funding, so that some real opportunity to do something there around the Seine River. And the final thing is, it occurred to me as we were opening, Ryan, who's now the general manager, Ryan was my campaign manager in 2011, and we put in the second leaflet that I wanted to get a permanent operating grant for Save Our Seine. It was something I managed to get through in the first term. So it had not occurred to me until tonight, the symmetry of that. So very pleased to see Ryan there, and pleased to see the city's operating grant is still in place, reflecting commitment. It seems like a long time ago, 2011, but glad to see it's still helping out Save Our Seine. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mays, and thank you for your support. And as we know, you were the original supporter of that, getting that grant for us for Save Our Seine. So much appreciated. I'd like to go on to Councillor Chambers.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for inviting me to participate tonight. I'll be very brief. I had the opportunity last week, Monday, to meet with Ryan and with Dennis DePaff to talk about all things great in Save Our Seine. It was a very lengthy meeting as a result, but I'm really looking forward to working very closely with Save Our Seine this term. I recognize that there are some construction projects that will be occurring along Save Our Seine in the Creek Bend area, and I want to make sure that that is managed to the utmost efficiency. to have a minimal impact on the green space there, as well as the Seine River. So again, looking very much forward to working closely with your group and the continued collaboration with the City of Winnipeg, which you provide so much value to throughout your work on the Seine River.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Councillor Chambers. And thank you to all of you, to all of the elected officials. We really appreciate all of your support throughout the year. It's an incredible amount of support for us. I wanted to mention that we got a message from MLA Jamie Moses that he would like to have joined at this time, but he's actually at another AGM, the Sarah Riel AGM, but he'll be joining us when he can, as soon as possible. But just wanted to mention that. Was there any other elected officials that I've missed that wanted an opportunity? Well, I think everyone's had a chance to speak, so thank you. So Dennis and I are going to co-chair this portion of the meeting, and I'm going to hand the chair over to Dennis at this point. So Dennis will be chairing Part C. Dennis is our vice president, as you know. So over to you, Dennis.
Right, thanks very much, Lori. And first of all, I just want to make a comment that, you know what, since 1990, Save Our Seine has been really fortunate to have the support of local politicians at all three levels of government, and that's regardless of party or other affiliations, and I think that's really important. And we've benefited greatly from that support. So thank you, all of you politicians, for the support that you've provided to us. You know what? It has made a difference for Save Our Seine and for, most importantly, the Seine River Greenway. So thank you. Now we're going to get on with the business part of the AGM. And this year we have a fair amount of business to do. That includes reporting on our 2022 AGM minutes. And we have 8 motions tonight that require votes by the membership for approval. 3 of these pertain to bylaw amendments, 2 are related to financial reporting, and 3 pertain to nomination and election of next year's board of directors. Now, in terms of this part of the session, voting is going to be done using Zoom polls, and it's open to all registered SOS members. Please refrain from voting if you are not a registered member of SOS. Now, Lori pointed out as part of her introductory comments that we have a quorum at this AGM. Basically, what was required is 13 members to make a quorum, 3 of which have to be board members. We clearly exceed that. If during this session you have a question or comment, please use the raise hand feature that is on your panel, your Zoom panel. If you go to the bottom of your panel, you see the reactions box, and there's a little plus there on the reaction board. You press it, and at least on my panel, there's an item that shows up called raise hand. And if you press that raise hand, like I'm doing right now, you will end up having your hand seen. And I'm hoping to follow on the participants panel to see what hands are raised. Sometimes I don't pick them all up, and if I don't, then you know what, just speak out so that you get your chance to indicate your comments. So that's just in terms of process. We're going to start with the minutes for the 2022 AGM, and Lori's going to report on that.
Okay. Can I have the next slide, please? So the minutes were circulated, and they were approved. These minutes from the AGM of last year were actually approved by the board in September of 2022. So they're just, this part of the meeting is just for information. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Let's move on now to these items that we're going to require motions and member approval. We're going to start with bylaw approvals. We've got 3 motions for amending our current bylaws, which were enacted in 1996. And Scott Robinson, who's the chair of our governance committee, is going to introduce this topic, and then he's going to provide information about the first of the motions. He's going to be followed by Peter Ward, who's also a member of our governance committee, who's going to introduce the next two motions. Now, when we're dealing with bylaw amendments, we need 67% of the votes to be favorable for a motion to pass, and abstentions do not count in tallying the vote percentages. So on these bylaw ones, 67% has to be favorable, abstentions don't count. I'm going to turn it over now to Scott to talk about our first bylaw amendment motion. He's going to introduce it and explain it, and then also make a motion in regard to this. Scott?
Right on. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, so the first, or Ryan, if you could just back up to the previous slide there. Thank you. So this is the first motion related to bylaw amendments. It's around electronic notices and governance. There's going to be 4 amendments made to the current bylaws, and essentially this just kind of brings us up to modern governance practices. We'll be making a motion of 4 bylaw articles. Will be Article 4, Clause 1.03, Article 6, Clause 6.03, Article 10, Clause 10.04, and then finally Article 12, Clause 12.01. We'll have those amended with wording which will be provided on the following slides to allow for current governance practices of electronic delivery, notice, and voting. And so we'll get into the explanation on the next slide here. And so the following will be either reworded or have additional wording. So the first Article 4, Clause 103 is going to be just reworded for notice of meetings to the members. And then for the next ones related to Article 6, 10, and 12, we'll have additional wording for notice of meetings to the board, notice to a board director or member, as well as amendments to bylaws, just adding in wording to allow for electronic means. And now on to the next slide, we'll have kind of the finer details there. And so we've got the current wording in the second column there. And so for the first one in particular, we're just looking to reword it by suggesting that notice stating the day, hour, and place of each meeting of members shall be given by email, social media, or on request of the member by mail. So you can still request specifically by mail to receive notice for the meetings. Notice must be given no less than 21 days and no more than 50 days before the meeting. So the notice must contain the description of the business to be conducted at the meeting. And so what this does for this one is it eliminates the requirement for snail mail and simplifies the clause overall. Previously, we had the 3 different sections to that clause requiring written notice to take place. The next one, we're just adding in wording mentioning that notice may be given by email, social media, or any other means acceptable to the board. Again, just bringing this or modernizing this effectively. And then the next one, we're adding in to the clause to include by email or social media for the notice being given to any director or member of SOS. And then in the second half there, a certificate of the secretary or an officer of SOS as to facts in relation to the mailing delivery or electronic delivery of any notice to any director, officer, or in relation to the publication of any notice in newspaper shall be conclusive evidence thereof and shall be binding on every member, director of SOS as the case may be. And then lastly, adding in wording to that to Article 12, Clause 1201. The bylaws may be made repealed or amended by bylaws enacted at any regular special meetings of the board by a 2/3 majority of those present, provided that written notice of any proposed bylaw change has been sent to all directors by first-class mail, email, or social media at least 7 days prior to such meeting. And so again, this just brings the clause up to current communication practices as we've been primarily dealing with email recently. And so that covers the details, and on to the next slide. So we just like to formally make a motion. Dennis, it's back to you.
Yeah, so if you could you please just maybe read this motion out And then we'll ask for a seconder.
Yeah, so I'd like to make a motion that the following bylaw articles, Article 4, Clause 103, Article 6, Clause 603, Article 10, Clause 1004, and Article 12, Clause 1201, be amended with wording provided on the previous slide to allow for current governance practices of electronic delivery, notice, and voting.
Can I have a seconder for that motion, please? Can I have a seconder? Could I have a, yes, I see that.
I'll second it.
Yes, I've got Peter Ward, seconder. Thank you. Any discussion in regard to the motion? Any discussion in regard to the motion? Please show hands and I'll, any discussion in regard to the motion?
Dennis,
yes.
I can't show my hand. The
Oh.
reactions are not working,
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
so my hand is up.
I
Yeah.
don't see it, but go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. I believe this amendment needs to be changed, although you are recognizing current communication practices to post notices, official notices of meetings and bylaw changes on social media and members meetings and so on is about members meetings and so on is not an acceptable practice. The official notice should go to individual members so that they bring special attention to them to attend the meeting to discuss whatever issues are there. So the addition of social media, especially with the word "or" in each of these clauses, should not be allowed to go forward. When you use the word "or," someone reading it in the future could say, well, we don't have to send it by email or mail. We'll just do it by social media. We'll just put a note on our Facebook page.
Well, Michelle, can you propose an amendment, please, to the motion?
Yes. Delete the social media option from each of those.
All right. So do I have a seconder for the amendment?
Ray
have a second?
Timmerman.
Ray
Ray
Timmerman. Okay, Ray, I see
Timmerman.
your hand. Yep, thanks,
Thank
Ray.
you.
Yes, okay, any discussion of the amendment, please? Any discussion of the amendment? All right, then Peter.
Oh,
I see
Peter Ward.
Yeah, I see
Peter's got
Peter.
it.
Yeah, just to comment on the intention is never to not directly notify particular individuals. It's just a concern about the language that email for those of us of a certain age is what we live in. But would a notice provided by something that's considered more of a social media, say, of which there's many that I'm not all that aware of, is that sufficient as long as it's a notice to the individual? But that the lines between social media and email may not be so cut and dry, and that by eliminating anything other than what we would consider traditional email may not be reasonable for how people communicate.
Further comments or discussion in regard to the amendment? What I'll do then is I will propose that we have a vote on the amendment and then we have a vote on the motion. Or basically, any further comments in regard to the amendment? I don't see any further comments, so I'm wondering if we could have a vote on the amendment. And we're going to have to do a show of hands because we don't have the poll available for this. So if we could have a show of hands, all those in favor of the amendments, please indicate on your and can I have somebody do a count for me, please? Okay. Okay.
We've got, it's 17, 15.
15, okay. Can I have
16. 16.
16, okay. Can I have a show of hands in regard to those opposed to the amendment? Okay. Lori, can you give me the count?
It's still coming in, Dennis.
Yeah,
Okay.
can I have a point of order? My show of hands is not working properly.
Okay, Michelle,
So
fair enough.
I'm in favor.
You're in favor, so that add one more to that, Lori. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, and just go ahead with that, Michelle, when, because if it's not working, we want to make sure you have the chance to express your views.
There's three, it looks like there's 3 people against the amendment.
Okay. All right, then what I'm going to do now is the amendment carries. Okay, we have more than 2/3 on the amendment, and now I'm going to ask for a vote on the amended motion. Okay, with the change, I will now ask for a vote on the amended motion.
Dennis,
ahead.
there looks
Yep.
like Kendra may be asking a question. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay, sorry, Kendra, go ahead. Kendra, go ahead. Oh, no.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm now going to ask for a vote on the amended motion. Okay, so if I could have a vote on the amended motion, and we'll use the poll, and just recognize that what you're voting on the poll is the amended motion. Okay. Can we see the poll, please? Yeah. Okay. So you can vote for, against, or abstain, and we all get a chance to vote. So I even have to vote. No, I don't. Okay.
Yep.
When the poll results are ready, if you'd, they'll show up on the screen here.
Now I've launched the poll, but I can't quite see the results, so I'm going to give it a little bit longer here, just to make sure we get some votes in.
We're getting close, Lindsay.
You know what? I'm not seeing any polls, any results come in here. Hold tight. The poll has been launched.
The poll has just appeared again. I already voted, but it's popped up a second time.
Correct. Lindsay, should we go to a show of hands?
I think it got reset when it got relaunched the second time. It reset the votes for everyone.
So what do we need to do?
You know what? The poll has been... Sorry, go ahead, Eric.
I think everyone would just have to vote again.
All right.
Same as they did the first time.
Okay, let's try that out. Let's vote again on this and hope it works. Otherwise, we're going to go to hands. Doug McLennan. You got your hand up, or is that a vote? Doug, well, you can put the hand down for the moment. We're going to use the poll again. All right. Okay, thank you very much for your votes. I noticed that there are 80% for, we needed 67%. So I declare this motion passed as amended. We will move on. Okay, let's go to motion number 2. And Peter Ward is going to introduce and explain our second bylaw amendment, which is about enabling the extension of term limits for directors. Peter?
Yes, I move that section 5.05 of the bylaws be amended to add a proposed clause B.1, which is shown below in red on the screen, which reads, despite clause 5.05B, a director may be elected to a fifth or subsequent consecutive term if the board, by a vote of 2/3 of the votes cast, recommends that a director be permitted to serve the additional term.
So that is the motion. I'm going to ask for a seconder, and then I understand Peter wants to speak to the motion. So let us get a seconder for that. Show me a hand.
I'll second Anita.
Okay, Anita seconds the motion. Peter, you wish to speak to that? Once Peter has spoken to the motion, I will open it up for other comments and discussion.
Sure. Thank you. Prior to January, the bylaws permitted board members who are technically directors of Save Our Seine to serve only 4 consecutive 2-year terms for a maximum of 8 consecutive years. As a board, we saw the value of term limits for directors. They allow for the graceful exit for board members, and they require some turnover in the composition of the board over time. But on the other hand, we also see the ways that term limits do not work in the best interests of the organization. In the first place, in the past year, we've had considerable turnover among board members, and we look forward to welcoming new board members at the end of this meeting. We're going to be a significantly different group this year than we were a year ago. Secondly, the board of SOS does not just supervise the work of the organization's employees. We do much of the practical and management work of SOS with the support of employees. We do much of the actual work. The implications of this is that Save Our Seine needs board members with expertise and knowledge, along with the time necessary to do the work and the commitment to the goals of Save Our Seine. Because of the time commitment involved in some of the roles on the board, planning for succession on the board can be frustrated by ordinary life events like a change in career or work demands for a director, a change in family arrangements like the arrival of a baby or a move out of the province. All of these can derail the best laid succession plans. And this is the challenge that Save Our Seine is facing now. Without this amendment to the bylaws, Laurie Ringert will not be eligible to be re-elected to the board. The board's come to the conclusion that we do not have a replacement for Laurie. She brings organizational memory and continuity, important skills along with time and extraordinary energy and commitment. The board believes that it's in the best interests of Save Our Seine that the members be given the opportunity to elect Laurie to an additional 2-year term on the board. So in summary, the board's proposing a balanced approach to the issue of term limits for directors. On one hand, the default will remain that board members may only serve a maximum of 8 consecutive years. But on the other hand, exceptions to the term limit should be allowed if both the board and members believe that it's appropriate to allow a director to serve an additional 2-year term. And I emphasize that we're talking about all the members of the board. The executive is usually considered to be a subset of that. It's the collection of officers and perhaps committee leaders.
Thanks, Peter. And now open up the discussion on this particular item. Discussion related to this particular bylaw amendment. Any discussion? Any discussion?
John Barodi.
John Barodi, please.
Yeah, Dennis, on that amendment, okay, you've got it right here. When it was in red, you had a typo. It's clarified. Thank you.
Okay. Roy, is that your hand, Roy?
Yes.
Go ahead, Roy.
Yes, I think that extending terms for any organization like this, it's very bad for the organization. Organizations I've served in over the years, after 4 or 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, people become very complacent in their jobs. And they lack any new ideas, and it restricts people from coming into the organization that have new ideas that can improve the organization. I think it's a terrible thing to do. The bylaws were put in there originally for a reason, and that reason was to keep the board of directors fluid, keep the ideas fluid, and to preserve the welfare of the organization. Otherwise, it will just slowly deteriorate, period. It's very undemocratic. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. I see Dave Daniluk and John Barodi. Dave Daniluk, followed by John Barodi.
Thank you very much, Roy. Those are actually good points. And I don't necessarily feel 100% in accord with that. I think that is serving on a board and then at an executive level are different roles. And there are other ways to serve Save Our Seine. It could be as a committee member. So I'm reluctant to be too focused on the years of service. And I can't tell you enough how much experience is gained in one single year. That is a real loss to a board if that capacity can't be carried forward. So I would say maybe the level of service, whether it be a president who continues for a long term, might be different than in a board member capacity. So I'm wondering if there's a distinction between executive and board level service, both of which are extremely important, especially ones who are experienced and familiar with the role that it requires. Thank you.
And I've got John Barodi.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with Roy. I think that's true, that when you get board members who have been on the board for a long time, the risk you run is that they can become complacent. The good news is, as chair, it's not the board chair's role to direct as much as it is to orchestrate the board. So what you want is a strong conductor. You don't want individuals board members who come at the executive level with all the ideas. And I say that as an acting chair right now, and I've chaired numerous boards in my career. A good board chairperson orchestrates the board. The ideas come from the board, not necessarily from the chair. And therefore, losing a good chair can cost the organization a lot more than losing a board member.
So John, are you speaking generally in favor of this particular motion, or?
I think you have to look at the individual and not necessarily just the position. Lori brings a lot of strength as a conductor. She's proven herself. She's committed to the community. That's why she won an award. I have worked with her. I find she's a very good conductor. She listens to the board members around her and focuses the ideas around the table. I'm very supportive of moving that forward.
Other comments, other discussion? Are we ready for the vote? I see Ray. Ray, did I see your hand, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Ray.
I have a couple of concerns. One is, if we're talking about board members as different from, say, the chair of the board, I really question, first of all, 2/3 of the vote cast. I would see more 80%. I'm not proposing that as an amendment, just a concern that we can too easily become cliquish and say, hey, we're all one big happy family, so we'll continue to vote for each other. Also, I have a concern that it should not be just the chair of the board / president who's responsible for, shall we say, succession planning, but the whole board needs to be looking at this. Because in every case, there should be some succession planning. So while I understand, I think I understand a fifth or consecutive or subsequent consecutive term, I really hesitate to go with 2/3 of the vote cast unless we're looking at 2/3 of the membership rather than 2/3 of the board. I just have real concerns. Anyway, enough.
In that regard, Ray, we're just pulling from the bylaws in terms of the requirement for the vote. So that's how we have it. And on the other item, Ray, on succession, I can offer the comment that if we do not have Lori returning, we don't have a president. Okay, so every attempt has been made to deal with the succession issue, and if Lori does not return, we do not have a president. So other comments?
I have a comment, Dennis.
Just a sec. I've got Peter and Julie and then Michelle. Okay, Michelle?
Thank you. Yeah.
Peter and then Julie. Go ahead.
Julie had her hand up first.
Okay, Julie, your hand was up first.
Oh, hi, everyone. My concern is about the second part where, and it's not visible to me right now, but in the second part, it said that the term may be elected to a fifth or subsequent consecutive term if the board, by a vote of 2/3 of the votes case, recommends that a director be permitted to serve the additional term. I thought it, okay, here it says too, the director shall continue in office until their successors are elected or appointment. That essentially makes the position for life, the way it's worded now. What are the parameters for appointing a successor?
Could I just make a comment? I want to go back to a comment. I misinterpreted Ray Timmerman. Ray, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. When you were referring to the 2/3, it wasn't a 2/3 vote of the members for this particular bylaw amendment, was it? It was a 2/3 vote in order to extend the term of the member of the board. Ray, can you clarify for me? Because I think
Yes, you're right. I was concerned that 2/3 for such a significant position is for me inadequate. I'm not disputing the need for the extension. I just really question that 2/3 is enough.
So Ray, would you like to propose an amendment that this be changed to 80%? I apologize, I misread you on what the 2/3 was about, Ray. So would you like to propose an amendment?
I wasn't going to, but I think I will propose that it be 80%. If it fails, that's okay. I'm okay with that, but it just doesn't feel right that it be only 2/3, even if I believe strongly that it's just that the extension is justified.
Yeah, fair enough, Ray. And I apologize for misinterpreting you in the first place. I now understand what you were getting at. Okay, so Ray Timmerman is proposing an amendment that to this particular motion. Let's go back to the motion. Okay, let's go back to the motion. And where it says 2/3, Ray is proposing 80%. Is that correct, Ray?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you, Ray. So where you see by a vote of 2/3 of the votes cast, it is by a vote of 80% of the votes cast. Before we go and vote on the amendment, I want to pick up on Michelle, you had comments, and Peter, you have comments as well. Michelle and then Peter.
Thank you. Yeah, I have major concerns with this clause. It is, if it stands as it is, in theory, it gives the board the authority to basically appoint a board member for life. And that person, if the other amendments pass to remove limits on the officers, someone could be elected as president for life. So I think it's totally unacceptable. The phrase in there, or subsequent consecutive terms. And I also have a problem with that being determined by the board only. and not the members as a whole, as Ray has already raised.
I got Peter.
Yes, I'd like to speak to that. So first of all, right now, as it was in January, the members did not have the option to elect a director to a 5th or subsequent term. What it does is, if the board by 2/3 or 80%, and to be honest, I would support the 80% threshold. If that's the will of the membership, the board can permit that person's name to go forward. The board is not appointing a director themselves. They're permitting that director to be elected by the membership. So if both the board by 2/3, 80%, whatever threshold, and then the membership by a majority, we don't have the ability under the Corporations Act to adjust that. Directors may always be elected by a majority of the members. So it will always take both some threshold of the board and the members. The board does not have the ability to do it unilaterally. It's just intended to remove that. The board action just removes a barrier to the members electing a director if they see fit to do so. The other point that was brought up, and perhaps we could move to the next slide, was a comment on Clause B, which in the context of ordinarily bylaws permit directors to serve until a replacement is elected. And normally it says something like a 2-year term, and then until a successor is elected. The purpose of that is to cover off times when there's a mismatch between annual general meetings, because those annual general meetings will always be the time that electors are directed. We've gone over a year since our last AGM, and so just to have directors going into the meeting and the ability to meet quorum, there's that language, but again, it doesn't make a director for life, and nothing about this is intended to do that. It's intended to find a balance between term limits and the needs of the organization as they're experienced at any particular time. Thank you.
All right. Any further comments? Otherwise, I'm going to open the vote for the amended motion, which would be
Yes, I do have further.
Okay, go ahead,
concerns. It may not be the intent, but unless that or consecutive terms is struck from this, it is not acceptable. You're opening the door to someone being on the board for life or president for life. So it may not have been intended, but that's what the words say. Because in reality, when we have these elections, for many years now, the board has presented either just the exact number of nominees to fill the slate, the vacant positions, or less than, which means that pretty much everyone is going to be elected automatically. Our vote is meaningless if a slate comes forward and we can't influence the composition of that slate.
So are you suggesting an amendment then, Michelle, that we remove the words or subsequent terms if the board, and just to have it as elected to a 5th term, and then we have an additional amendment, which is 80% of the vote, and then we would vote on that amendment. Michelle, are you proposing that amendment?
I am proposing that that be removed. Yeah.
Okay, so that the new motion would basically read that despite clause 505B, a director may be elected to a 5th term if the board, by a vote of 80% of the votes cast, recommends that a director be permitted to serve an additional term. And of course, the other point is that that person's nomination still has to go up before the AGM. So I propose that we now have a vote on the amended motion, which would be, as I said, to remove the reference to or subsequent term, and also to raise the percentage to 80%. Peter, are we okay with proceeding with the vote? And it's going to be a show of hands. Peter, do you have a further comment? I see your hand, Peter.
You're muted, Peter.
Oh, is that what it
Thanks.
is?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that fifth term, and I think that the intention was probably that be elected to a fifth consecutive term. There's never been any, for example, Dennis, last AGM, you, I believe, were elected to a fifth or maybe subsequent term. The issue is was it 5 consecutive terms? So would you accept, Michelle, the amendment being the removal of or subsequent to just maybe elected to a fifth consecutive term?
That's what I think it was, right, Michelle?
Yes, that still puts it at the high end of board service. 10 years on a nonprofit board is a long time, and the more people that do that, the less availability there is for new people coming in. There are less opportunity for them to get experience as officers and so on. So, but I would agree to removing the or subsequent terms.
All right, so let's
or subsequent is just being the 2 words.
Yeah, the or subsequent, so it's to a fifth term, and then a 80% vote. I'd like to now have a vote on this motion. We're going to do a show of hands. If I could have somebody do the count on the show of hands, that would be great, because I can't.
Pardon me, Dennis, for
Yeah.
clarification, is this vote on the
Amendment?
Yeah, but there were 2 proposed amendments.
Yeah, I'm going to put them both in at the same time. Okay, so fifth consecutive term and a 80% vote.
I think you may have to vote on them separately.
Can we vote on those separately?
Yes, if you wish, then I think then we would have to vote first with the last amendment. Actually, should deal with the First Amendment, because, and then I'll deal with the Second Amendment. First Amendment then is a change it to an 80% of votes cast. So if I could see a show of hands for this motion amended, so that instead of 2/3 of votes cast, we have 80% of votes cast. And if I could have somebody do the count for me, please.
They're still coming in, Dennis.
That's fine. All those in favor?
Looks like we've got 20.
Okay, any opposed? Could I show, please all take your hands down, those who voted in favor, and then we'd like to see those who are opposed. Okay. All right. Okay.
Like 2.
Okay, so what's the vote count, Lori?
I'll go to Eric for that.
Okay, Eric.
Well, it was 24 2 against.
All right, okay, that exceeds the 2/3 threshold that we're working with on that. And so I'm now going to move to that particular amendment has been passed. And now I'm going to go to the subsequent amendment, which is to basically restate restate the item with regard to the consecutive terms as elected to a fifth consecutive term, removing the words or subsequent. Okay, can I see a vote of a show of hands? I'm sorry. In regard to this, all those in favor, please, of this particular amendment. If we could have a show of hands in regard to that. Okay. Okay. And I'll wait for my talliers to let me know. And could you please take the hands down? And I would like to see those who are opposed to this particular amendment, please. I don't see any hands there. Eric, do you see any hands?
No.
All right, then I think that's 21 and no votes cast again. That amendment passes. We are now going to vote on the amended motion. Shall we try the poll again?
Yeah, I think it should work. Let's give it a try.
Somebody's got just a reminder. Okay, so the amended motion with the two amendments that have been made to it was what we're voting on now. And we'll see if the technology works.
We'll be closing the poll in 10 seconds.
Oh, I like this countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I guess the poll is closed. All right, in terms of this motion, I see that we had 88% in favor, 9% against, and 3 abstentions. And so I declare this motion passed. And by the way, I want to thank everybody for their contribution to this discussion. I think it's very productive and healthy for the organization to actually be paying attention to bylaws. So that's great. I say thanks very much. We have one more motion on the table, and that motion is again, Peter. This is our third bylaw amendment, and this is about introducing flexible terms of office, flexible terms of limits for officers. Peter?
Yes, perhaps we can move the slides to the third motion.
Could I get slides to motion number 3, please?
Okay, I move that section 7.02, term of office, as it relates to officers of the bylaw, be repealed.
And what is section 0.02 about, Peter?
I believe it's on the next
Hold it.
slide.
I need a seconder. Peter, I'll take a
Yeah.
second. Can I get a seconder for this motion, please? And can I get a seconder for this motion, please? Okay. Can I get a seconder for this motion? I'm not seeing any hands, but can I get a
Amanda
second?
Jacobs, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Peter, go ahead.
All right, if we could move to the next slide, I believe the text of clause 7.
Okay.
So the principal work that Article 7, Section 7.02 does is it states that officers of Save Our Seine shall hold office for a term of 1 year, and that no officer shall hold the same office for more than 2 successive terms unless the board deems it necessary by reason of an emergency or in extraordinary circumstances, providing that incumbent officers, no officer shall hold more than 1 office at a time. And so just to remind everyone, the officers of Save Our Seine are the president, the vice president, the secretary, the treasurer, and the past president. I point out that because officers are elected from among board members, the term limits that apply to board members also limit the time that a person can be an officer of Save Our Seine. The reason the board recommends removing term limits for officers are similar to the reasons why the board wishes to allow for exceptions to term limits for directors. As board members, the officers are volunteers, and some roles involve considerable investment of time, talent, and expertise. Save Our Seine relies on officers for considerable work. Finding individuals with both the skills and the willingness to volunteer with Save Our Seine is not always something that we can take for granted. For example, our current treasurer, Ryan, is an accountant with a national accounting firm. We're fortunate that Save Our Seine has access to his level of expertise, and for as long as he's prepared to serve on our board, it's likely in the best interest of Save Our Seine that he also act as treasurer. If he's willing to do so for more than 2 years, it's all the better for Save Our Seine. Save Our Seine is also fortunate that Anita is our secretary. She brings skill, commitment, and energy to her role, which is often one of the harder roles to fill with a volunteer organization. The same holds true for the president and vice president. It's the board's view that as long as an officer is willing to act in the office and the board believes it's in the best interest of Save Our Seine that the person remain an officer, and as long as the members are prepared to elect the person to the board, the person should be able to continue in an office, subject to the term limits that apply to board members.
All right, so Peter's explained this particular motion, which is intended to basically introduce flexible term limits for officers. We are now open for discussion. And any discussion? Ray Timmerman, may I see your hand? So where you go, Ray?
Yeah. Thanks, Denise. My concern, I have no concern with removing the first part of that. In fact, when I looked at it, I thought, my goodness, you're looking at an officer holding for no more than 2 successive terms of a year each. It takes that long to get used to the job. However, I do question removing the part of no officer shall hold more than 1 office at one time. And so I ask, how often have we had 1 officer holding more than 1 office at one time? I question removing that portion, and that's why I asked the question. I'm not making a motion to amend it. I just want to know.
Huh. That's a good question. I've been around a long time, Ray. I don't recall combined office. We're talking about executive positions here when I say this, Ray.
That's
I don't
right.
recall. I don't recall executive positions in that one. What we do have sometimes, though, is we may have members of the executive who also chair committees. Okay, and that's
a
fair
different
game
matter.
for us.
This is
right?
just for the officers, though.
Okay, I don't remember. Lori, do you know of any?
No, not in my time.
I'd like to add to this point, if you don't mind.
It depends.
Yeah.
Hi. Oh,
Go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. In answer to that question, it does depend. The past president is one of the officers, as I understand it. And we know Save Our Seine does not have a past president right now. Part of that reason is he served as president for 5 years. And then Laurie served 4 consecutive terms. He would have had to stay as past president for a long time. So in essence, there are members on the board, whether they're executive or other, they have assumed the role of the past president. The past president is normally key in independently chairing the nominations committee, because you don't want the president to have undue influence on the nominations going forward for board members. So that's normally a responsibility given to the past president. So someone on the board has assumed that role, and whether it, I don't know if it is, if it's wearing 2 hats or not.
I don't think so. But anyway, that's I would like to recognize Ryan and then Ray and then John. Ryan McIntosh.
So in my case, I only started with SOS in December. I was elected for the interim for you guys to vote me on today. So when Paul left and the time between Paul leaving and me joining, somebody would have had to fulfill the role of treasurer as well. So I understand the hesitation on the more than one office at one time. What if it was interim? Like you're allowed an exception if there's an interim, such as, say, I'm not leaving right now, but if I was to leave, the next best person that has the finance knowledge would end up being Lori, from her previously being a treasurer. So if she just internally did it till you can find someone as a better replacement, does anyone have any thoughts on something like that?
Thanks, Ryan. That's a very useful perspective. I've got Ray. Ray, are you there?
I'm
Ray,
here.
Katie?
Oh,
Roy, I'm sorry, Ray. Roy, Katie.
Okay. I think this is one of the worst things I've ever seen presented in any organization. Like organizations I've been in, we've had officers holding almost all the offices in the organization to the detriment of that organization, because they rule the whole thing. And to take away the terms, I agree that one term is not sufficient. You're just learning the job the first year, basically. So I would say 1, 2, or 3 year term. But after that, no. There's no reason for it. There's no real emergency. I'm sure that there are people wanting on the board of Save Our Seine because they're responsible people looking after the environment. They're concerned citizens, and they would like to have a part to say and play in the organization. But by doing this, you're eliminating everybody. Thank you.
And I got John Barodi.
Let's keep in mind that we're talking about executive positions, not directors on the board.
Can I say one more thing? There are a couple, yes, like the treasurer who has to have a background knowledge. That's fine. Maybe there's 1 or 2 others, like maybe you have a lawyer on your executive, and with his knowledge, you need that. But the run of the mill executive, no way.
Well, I would add another position. I would add secretary is a hard position to fill because that takes a lot of work.
Yeah, could be.
So when you take a look now, we have treasurer and secretary. Vice president usually gets on the board with the idea being that they would like to become the president. And
That's
other
not me,
than
by the way.
what's that? Well, I know not you. But other than that, that is the executive. So Roy, really, there's no, the number of positions we're talking about on this board are 4. Taking this away is not going to change the composition of the board. I am sure if somebody on that board right now said that they would like to step into the secretary or the treasurer's position, it wouldn't take long for either one of those individuals to step out. I have found on boards, first of all, it takes you a good 1 to 2 years to learn the job. And the 3rd year is when you start actually to be becoming efficient or effective. So I don't think taking this clause out takes away nothing from the board.
When you say officers, who are you referring to? What positions?
If these terms for the positions only apply to the executive, not the board members.
Okay, what does the executive entail? Who? Like
secretary, treasurer, president, and vice president.
So you're giving the president and the vice president unlimited power forever?
No, they have to be. There's other processes that select them. This really pertains to your secretary and your treasurer.
Dave Daniluk, you've been waiting. Dave Daniluk, you've been waiting.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify how many board members are permitted, or the maximum?
15.
15.
15.
Okay, and so we're only talking about executive, which is president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and past president.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct. That's right, Dave.
I don't know. I think this doesn't seem to be that severe as I thought. Like, I don't think it's a huge concern. I think the capacity and the experience gained from a very unique role, meeting with politicians, elected and appointed, and that unique knowledge is such a cherished amount of information that you'd hate to lose that. If someone is willing to fill that role longer or extend that, I think I would be more on the grateful side, as opposed to, it's not like Putin and Medvedev or whatever the interim president was. It's not like that. I think it's more thank you for your sacrifice and your time and your continued expertise that can be applied. So I don't know. I'm not sure I have the same concern that has been raised so far. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to propose that we move to the vote on
Well,
this.
Wait a minute, my hand's up. Again, I have no button.
Okay, go ahead. I of course, go ahead, Michelle.
Thank you. I am concerned about this. Term limits prevent the board from becoming overly reliant on a single person to fill a key role, just as we're experiencing right now. I warned the board about this back in 2019, and I believe that equitable sharing of power and workload among all board members makes the role of president less daunting and increases the likelihood of either other board members or members from joining the board with a desire to become the president. So they're more willing to take on the role if the term limits are in place. Now, that's not to say that a 2-year term was correct. I do believe that for the treasurer, special expertise definitely could be a longer than 2 years. It could be 3 or 4 or 5, maybe even. But to eliminate them defeats the whole purpose of being do we value young people on our board or not? You're not going to attract young people to be on a board if all of the positions that they would gain experience in doing are taken up forever by other experienced people. You need to have a succession plan, which clearly, and the term limits are a part of a succession plan.
I wonder if I could move the chair over to Lori for a moment. I just want to comment on that. Michelle, I was on several boards of SOS, as you know, and I was on for a long time. And I remember when I was vice president, I was trying to find a president, and I tried and I tried. And you know what? No luck. And it wasn't a case of going to look for someone to be the president. We looked and we looked, and I ended up being vice president way longer than I wanted to. And I never wanted to be president, as you know. And so I know that if we have somebody who, we can have longer terms for a position. I happen to think it's really important. The bottom line is, even if you try very, very hard to get succession, sometimes you simply cannot do it. And you need to take, in those situations, it may be that you have to extend or have longer terms for officers. That's just reality. It's not a matter of, having a openness to new board members or that sort of, or younger or other board members. What I found is that there's a very small proportion of people who are willing to serve on the executive of an organization. And when you get them, you want to hang on to them because you're not going to find other ones to do it very easily. That's been my experience with Save Our Seine, and I've been around since 2004. I want to I'll take the chair back from Peter. Any other comments? Any other suggestions? I suggest that we now move on this particular motion as read, and we could have the poll, please. Could we have the poll for this one? Yeah.
How much effort was put into recruiting a new president. I know that when Save Our Seine was looking for a treasurer, we would often go to the board connect through the Volunteer Manitoba and say, we're looking for a new president. I mean, I don't know how thoroughly the board has beaten the bushes. You've been aware of the expiring terms for at least 2 years. It wasn't an emergency to extend it for 2 years. And I'm just finding it difficult to accept a total removal of the board limits. If 2 years is not enough, then increase it, but don't get rid of the board limits entirely, or the officer limits entirely.
So what is the amendment that you'd recommend?
Perhaps that the position of treasurer be allowed to be, you elect people in 2-year terms, I believe, is that right? Or is it 3-year?
2-year terms, Michelle, for, our nominee, our directors are.
No, I meant the directors is 2-year terms. Okay, so then I would say you want to maybe make it 4 or perhaps 6 years for the treasurer. Secretary, as dedicated as Anita is, doing the minutes and being responsible for the books of the organization is a good opportunity for other individuals to take that role on. And as is chairing the meetings, we seem to forget that the main role of the president is chairing the board meetings and influence and making sure that the governance is done well. And so you're looking for, I don't think you need to have the elimination of the number of terms for the president. I think maybe 4 in total years as president. There's sometimes problems come up between the president and the executive director or the staff. And one way of making sure that those don't take root is to have a changeover in that position and have other people with different personality traits and so on take on that responsibility. So there
I'm going to move my chair to Peter. My experience has been that doesn't necessarily work. I know at this time we actually were aware that we needed to try and replace Lori. That was an issue that we were aware of. We had to look around. One of the things is you don't go out into the market and look for a president of an organization. It has to be from within. It has to be from people who have knowledge and experience of the organization. It has to be somebody that the board is going to be feel is going to do the job that they want to have done. In this case, the effort was made and that there was no result in terms of that. Certainly, I was a possibility for that type of thing. I had no interest in it at all. There were some other people we asked and they had no interest in it at all. And so this is a situation where I think with Save Our Seine, we have to have some flexibility in that regard. It's not the last time that this is going to happen. I'll now take the chair back from Peter, and I got Scott Robinson.
Just one more quick comment and a bit of a concern on the idea of amending this to have specified terms for each individual executive position. I think like in the instance of treasurer, if you're to have that set at 3 years, although I think I appreciate that there's a lot of value that can be provided in 3 years, I think that there will be some people as well who may be hesitant to sign up for a 3-year term, and that for some individuals, 2 years may be more palatable. For others, 3 years may be more palatable. But I think that there's kind of that perspective to take as well. That 3 years could be a long time commitment, depending on someone's kind of stage in their career.
I believe that's not the minimum; it's the maximum.
Okay. So you're not proposing kind of a defined number, just that the maximum term limit would be 3 years.
Maximum.
Okay.
All right, so shall we look at a revised version of this motion, which basically is going to indicate maximum terms for basically it's members of the, members of the executive. So Michelle, let's hear maximum terms for members of the executive.
I'd say 4.
For all positions?
Sure, I'm open to other suggestions. Like I said, I think the treasurer could be a longer term, but I would think that the other positions, a maximum of 4 years in service in that capacity. I mean, don't forget, when people leave those positions, they don't have to leave the organization. They can stay on as volunteers, they can be on committees. They can still contribute significantly, just not in those positions of power. Open those up to other people. It can be very intimidating for less experienced board members to want to take over or want to take on a role on the executive to begin with. The more you can encourage that, the better. That's going to give you long-term sustainability.
All right. So I think if this is the case, then what we have is an amendment to this motion that basically says that each of the officers shall hold office for a term of 1 year, and no officer shall hold the same office for more than 2 successive terms. I think that stops right there, right?
I think it would be 4 successive terms because the officers are 1-year terms.
Lori?
Dennis, I was just going to comment on what our procedure is right now,
Okay.
and it has been ever since I've been on the board, that every year we actually come to the board that's just been elected and ask if who would actually like to be an officer. And before the meeting, before that actual meeting, we actually talk to all the board directors and ask if they are interested in any of the officer positions. So it's not that it's automatic. It's each year the board actually elects these positions. I just want to make sure the members understand that. So there's a opportunity. I mean, none of us are, that we're, if anyone was stepped up from the board and said, hey, I'd like to be any one of these positions, including the president, then that would actually go to the board. And if 2 people really wanted it, we'd have an election in the board itself. But so it's actually every year this comes back to the board for election immediately following the AGM. So the board actually elects the officers. So I just wanted to mention that, Dennis.
All right. I'd like to, I think Dave Daniluk, you're the final person, and then I think are going to vote. We're going to try and establish a vote here. Go ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Dennis. I just wanted to acknowledge that Save Our Seine is not dysfunctional. It seems to be operating very well. My dog is concerned with a kid arriving at my house, but I just wanted to say that I don't think this is a threat. And I don't know if we have to be as concerned and worried about the outcomes. I recall having to recruit presidents through every effort possible to persuade them to commit their time. And I don't think there are hundreds of eligible candidates for president in Winnipeg, but not many of them have the time and luxury to be able to afford the service that's required and the commitment that's required. And we've had great service from presidents for the past, decades. And we have to recognize that we're not in the position of offering too much. We're very grateful for their ability to serve. And if it's it's not like we have a competitive process where we have 30 presidents to select from, is my point. And I think we should be aware of that. We're grateful for the ones that will commit to that service and who are aware of what that takes and can function. Monarch rewards aside, that's still, we're grateful for that. Thank you.
All right. So in terms of this, can I see the motion, please, back up here? And you were suggesting 4 terms, right, Michelle?
4 one-year terms maximum.
4 one-year terms maximum. Can I get the motion? Can I see the motion again in front of me? Which is not, okay, to repeal the clause and to replace it with what? I need some clarity here. I need some help. Can I see the previous overhead? I seem to have lost the ability to move overhead. What was the previous overhead? Or the previous slide? Okay.
Ryan, yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, so each officer shall held it with no more than 4 successive terms, and then stop right there. Okay, so each of the officers of SOS shall hold office for a term of 1 year. No officer shall hold the same office for more than 4 successive years. Is that the comment?
Yes.
Okay.
That's actually the same as it is right now, Dennis. It's 2 successive terms.
Okay, that's fine.
No,
Should
I
we
believe,
leave it at
no,
that?
it's, hold on, the terms
Yes.
for office are 1 year. Not 2 years.
What it's saying up there, Lori, is that each term of the office shall hold it for a term of 1 year. If that's the case, then no officer shall hold it for the same office for more than 4 successive terms, because they're 1-year terms, Lori. So I think that is correct.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah.
Okay, so let's have that as the revised, the amended motion. I'd like to have a vote. It's by hand again. I see Ray Timmerman. Ray, I'd like to move on to the vote, but I'd like to get your comment. Ray?
Yeah, thanks, Denis. I'm concerned the original motion is to repeal clause 7.02. What we're dealing with at the moment is an amendment to the clause. And I suggested if we're going to look at an amendment, we should move on the repeal of the clause and reject it, and then have the amendment on the clause. Because if we're looking at amending the clause when the motion is actually to repeal it,
yeah,
to me, it seems if we want to repeal or if we want to amend it,
okay,
we should first reject 702, the repeal of it, and then move the amendment.
All right.
If we accept the repeal of 702, the amendment becomes moot.
Okay, you're right, Ray. So I stand corrected. So if I could have a motion, I have a motion from Peter. I have a seconder to repeal. You're correct. To repeal 702 terms of office, and then what I'd like to do is if I could have then the poll in regard to amend the 702. We could have the poll in regard to 702, please. Okay. Thank you, Ray.
You give another 10 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, ending the poll now.
Okay, and this motion, we received 50% for, 23% against, and we have abstention. What are the votes? Because abstentions do not count. So we have to see if it's 2/3 or not. Could we have the actual vote tally? and we have to need the vote tally for the for and against. We total them up and then we see if there's a 2/3 or not.
Okay, so ignoring the abstentions, we have 60% for.
60% for. All right, then
68.
this motion does not carry because we needed 67% in order for the motion to
Well,
carry.
we have 68.2%.
Oh, we have six. Okay, can you give us the numbers and what's the total number
So
of votes?
total number of votes was 22.
Okay,
15 were for and 7 were against.
all right, so 68%, you're right. And so there's a 68% favorable vote and taking into account abstentions or removal of abstentions. And so 68%, the motion has passed. And we'll move on to the next item. Okay. Thank you, everyone. And thanks, Ray, for bringing that to our attention. We'll now move to the financial reports. And we have Ryan, who is going to present make our presentation and make our motions in regard to financial reports. We have 2 motions in this regard. Go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry if I may, were we not intending to then present a new motion with regard to the officers' terms, or did I misunderstand?
Oh, you're probably fair enough. Yes, I think that is correct. Let's go back then to the back. And basically, I think we were looking at having a motion to replace Article 7, Section 7.2, which has been eliminated with each the officer shall hold the term of 1 year, and no officer shall hold a term of office for more than 2 successive terms. Is that correct? Is that correct?
I think we are looking at a brand new motion, and we would take into consideration the proposed amendment, so it would say for more than 4 successive terms.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else that needs to be done, but it's a brand new motion.
All right. Can I have a mover
Dennis,
for a motion that says each of the officers of SOS shall hold office for a term of 1 year. No officer shall hold.
Dennis,
Yeah.
Dennis, there's a John Barodi.
John Barodi.
Dennis, because you excluded the other motion passed, going back to the previous speaker, this should go back to the board for a change for next year.
All right.
What you're going to be doing is adding a new motion now. So this one's dead. We voted against it. So it's finished.
Okay.
I would
I
agree.
appreciate the advice, John. I know you're an expert on parliamentary procedure and governance, so I appreciate your advice, and I think you're correct. We have dealt with the motion. We need to come back with another motion to the AGM next year. Thank you very much, John.
I don't think that is the case. I think any member can bring forward a motion at this time.
They can't, except it's a bylaw.
Yeah.
Well, it
Any
should go
member-
through a bylaw process.
Yes.
No. Any
Yes.
member can bring for any voting member can bring forward a proposal, a motion to a meeting of the members. It does not have
Right.
to go back, doesn't have to be kicked back to the board.
Well, I would disagree. I would say I agree with what you're saying, but not with respect to bylaws. It should go through a bylaw review.
I don't believe that's what the Corporations Act specifies or the bylaws.
I think what we want to do, Michelle, in this case is because it does pertain to a bylaw and it does require a separate motion. As I think you could indicate that you recommend that the executive or not the executive, that say we're saying consider a motion for next, for a bylaw motion for consideration at the next AGM, which is that each of the officers shall hold office for a term of 1 year, and no officer shall hold same office for more than 4 successive terms, and that be something that we bring back to the AGM next year. Because I have great respect for John Barodi and his understanding of governance and procedure. So, Michelle, would you like the SOS to consider this particular bylaw amendment and bring it back for consideration?
Of course, I don't agree that that is the process that should be used, but yes, I do. Yes, it has to come back next year.
Okay.
It is not, yeah.
Okay.
John Borodi's expertise on governance is not the be all and end all.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just giving you an opinion.
And Michelle, I would argue yours isn't either. So we have I agree. We have to draw on someone, and in this case, I think we want to bring it back to SOS as a bylaw consideration for next year. All right, let's move on to the financial statements.
Could I say one thing about that bylaw?
Go ahead, Roy.
Any organization I've been in, when we had a general meeting, an annual meeting, that's when we brought up bylaw changes. And if we had a new bylaw to propose, that's when we proposed it. And if we want to right now, we should be able to propose a new bylaw.
A new bylaw has been proposed. It will be brought back to SOS for consideration at the next AGM.
Okay.
I think, Dennis, I'm sorry I'm speaking, it's Anita. I think you need a seconder on that motion.
Which motion?
To take it back to SOS.
Okay, guys, got a seconder to the motion that was made by Michelle to bring for a bylaw revision or bylaw amendment.
I'll second that, Dennis.
Okay, thank you. All right, if I could have the financial report, I'm going to ask Ryan McIntosh to help us out here with the financial reports. Go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you, Dennis. Next slide, Ryan. So we had our financial statements reviewed by McClenahan and Associates, Chartered Professional Accountants this year. So the financial statements were sent out to all members earlier. So in the slide, you can see two snapshots of one being a balance sheet, the other being the summary of our excesses of revenues over expenses. In brief, SOS has more cash sitting in our bank account right now than it costs us on an annual amount. So we can see $178,000 in cash versus our expenses in 2022 being $136,000. I would like to open the floor if there's any questions at all related to the financial statements that were sent out. If anyone has any questions at all.
I'm not seeing any questions, Ryan.
All right, then if there's no questions, I move a motion to accept the 2022 financial statements that were reviewed and completed by McClenahan Associates, Chartered Professional Accountants.
Can I get a second?
I seconded, Anita.
Okay, discussion? Any discussion? I don't see any discussion. All right, I'm wondering if we could have the poll, please. Could we have the poll and the poll appearing in front of you? The motion is to accept the 2022 financial statements.
Closing the poll in 10 seconds. Three, two, one.
Here.
I see the results of the motion. We have 94% who are in favor, 6% abstentions. The motion passes, and incidentally, I forgot to mention that on these motions, it's a 50% threshold that we need. So we have exceeded the 50% threshold, and so we have passed this motion. Ryan, on to the next motion.
With the 2022 financial statements now being complete, we're on to looking for our 2023 financial statements. The board was happy with McLennan and Associates during this last engagement and our previous engagements we've had in the past with them. So once again, the board is recommending to engage them once again. So I make to move a motion for SOS board recommends engaging McLennan and Associates, chartered professional accountants, to conduct our 2023 financial statements review engagement.
Are you wanting a motion or are you?
Yes, can I get a
No, I said
seconder for that
motion.
motion, please? Can I get a seconder for that motion,
I'll
please?
second it, Anita.
Okay. All right. Any discussion in regard to this motion? Any discussion in regard to this motion? Any discussion in regard to this motion? Seeing no discussion, I propose that we have the poll on the motion. Could I have the poll on the motion, please? All on the poll appearing before you, please submit your vote. And the threshold on this is 50% of the non-abstained votes.
Okay, closing in 10. Three, two, one.
The vote is 93% in favor, abstention 7%. And so I declare that this motion passes. We've exceeded the 50% threshold. We'll now move on to the nominations. And we're going to, we have basically, we're dealing here with the nominations report and the elections for 2023 Board of Directors. And we basically have are dealing with individuals that are new to the board. We're dealing with the current interim board directors and a new term for existing directors. And we're going to have separate motions for each group and the individuals that are within each of those groups. Lori, our president, is going to introduce and present the nominations for the individuals who are new to the board. And then Anita, our secretary, will introduce and present nominations for the other two groups. Both are members of our nominating committee that identified, reviewed, and recommended the candidates that you're voting on tonight. And when we're dealing with the elections of board members, we need a 50% vote that is favorable, and the abstentions again do not count. So with that, Lori, we'll move it to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dennis. I just wanted to highlight the nominations process over this last year. So we did advertise for people to run on the board. We did this in a number of ways. We sent out notice through the e-news to all of our list of people that are on our list, and that's beyond the members, but other people as well that are on our e-news list. We also had contacted Volunteer Manitoba requesting any volunteers or anyone that's interested to be on the board. We also asked the board themselves to help recruit any potential nominees. During the year, we had a few board directors that resigned due to personal reasons, And so we actually did a recruitment process for 2 appointees. Ryan McIntosh, as you've heard, is our current treasurer, and he was appointed during the year. And Scott Robinson, we appointed because of his experience with strategic thinking, etc. So during the year, we did appoint 2 board directors. So, and I do want to thank, we did meet with, we had a small committee, and the committee members were Anita, Eric, Ray Temmerman, Jenny Petrenko, and we also invited another person, but Ed Labossiere, but he was unable to be on the committee. So we did invite those members. So just wanted to highlight that. And the first slate of people I wanted to highlight here, and we'll need a motion, but that the Save Our Seine board recommends the following slate: individuals who are new to the organization to be elected to the SOS Board of Directors for a 2-year term, May 2023 to May 2025. And you'll see the names there. And the members have actually received this information in advance. But Dennis, I'll ask that someone make the motion and a seconder, and then I can highlight these individuals.
All right, could I have someone who would make the motion to recommend? Anita? Okay.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Can I have a second?
I'd like to make a motion that the following individuals: Renee Bravo, Alana Forsman, Timothy Koridi Amasanyan, and Michael Pereira be elected to the SOS Board of Directors for a 2-year term from May 2023 to May 2025.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Marlene Gregory, I second that.
Thanks, Marlene. All right, Lori?
Yes, so these individuals bring a lot of, we were talking before about having fresh, younger people and diversity to the board. And this slate of people do bring a lot of freshness and diversity to our board. Renee Bravo is previously worked with the government of Brazil in the environment area, and has a background in environmental science. Alana Forsman is another person that has a background in environmental science, and actually was also on our summer team years back, so it brings a variety of experience there. Temi is actually a filmmaker, which is interesting, but also has a degree in environmental science as well. And Michael Pereira is a journalist, but also been involved with Indigenous communities, that type of work, and also strong in the environmental area. Previously did a lot of work in Toronto around environmental aspects. So I would suggest this is a very strong slate, a very exciting slate of new people who are interested in being on the board.
Perhaps, Lori, we could ask somebody, I believe they're all here, and we just might just get the camera on each of them just so everybody can see who they are.
So they can wave, yeah.
Okay, so this is Michael. All right. Who's next? And
Alana.
Alana, hello.
And I don't believe Renee and Timmy are actually here tonight.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi there. I'm here, but I have problems with my camera.
Oh, okay. Hi,
Yeah,
Renee.
I don't know. Hi.
Hi,
So
Timmy.
so welcome everyone. So I think we could go over to the poll.
All right. Now, Before we go to the poll, we do want any discussion on this, Lori, we always do. So is there any discussion in regard to having these 4 people be elected to Save Our Seine board for a 2-year term?
I have a question. This looks to be like it is not a full board slate. It's 12 people out of 15 from the look of it. Did the board discuss whether it would take nominations from the floor? That used to happen back in 2013 when our meetings were in person. And the bylaws leave it up to the discretion of the directors to determine if they want to do nominations from the floor, and if so, how many?
That the board determined that they would not take nominations from the floor for this meeting.
So it's reducing the board size to 12 from 15. Because recognizing that the board can't backfill the vacancies. So you're stuck with 12 people going forward. You can't fill the other 3 positions without input from the members.
We have 2 more. There's going to be another motion. That's 2 other people. So.
I think Michelle's just saying at the end of the day, when we complete all of our nominations and elections, we'll have 12 board members, right, Michelle?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Roy? I
Yeah,
see your
okay.
hand.
Yeah, I was just wondering, like, I didn't vote because I didn't really see the purpose in it, because these people are all in by acclamation. I mean, what are you voting for? There's nobody running against them. So why are we voting? If there was an abundance of candidates, if more than 15, then we'd be voting. But right now we're just accepting. And I'm sure they sound like very, very good members. I mean, there's nothing against them personally, but it's just the fact that why do we go through the process of a vote?
This is a standard practice that we have used at Save Our Seine since I was involved with Save Our Seine 20 years ago.
Well, that's why.
That's
why.
It looks like Dennis's internet has.
That's a good reason for having new blood in there. We used to do it 20 years ago.
Roy, would you like to be vice president?
No, I can't, not at my age.
All right, Roy. Okay.
No, I accept that.
If you'd like to be vice president, Roy, you just come on in.
But it's just a mute point. Okay.
I'd be happy to give it to you, Roy.
No.
In any event, if we could have the vote in regard to the election of board directors for our new directors for a 2-year term, and you're voting for each one of them.
We have a little bit of extra time with this one since there are four votes within the same poll here this time around.
So please vote for each person individually and then submit.
Oh.
There
Yeah.
are only 3 people on the ballot.
Oh, scroll up.
Scroll.
You may need to scroll down to see the 4th one. It's looking like just about everyone has voted. I'll just give another 10 seconds or so. 3, 2, 1.
All right. It looks like we have over 50% for all of our candidates. So I declare the motions passed. The 4 candidates are now becoming members of the Save Our Seine Board of Directors. What we usually do with new board members like this is we all clap because we appreciate the fact that they're contributing to our board.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
All right. We're going to move now to the election of 2 of our interim board members to the Board of Directors for a 2-year term. And we're going to ask Anita to deal with that for us, to handle that for us. Anita?
Yes. The next motion is to, the board recommends that the following slate of interim board directors be elected to the SOS Board of Directors for a 2-year term, May 2023 to May 2025. Ryan McIntosh and Scott Robinson. So we need a motion.
Can I have somebody move that we recommend for the board, the following as a Board of Directors for a 2-year term: Ryan McIntosh, our current treasurer, and Scott Robinson, who's our current committee chair for the governance. Could I have a mover, please?
I'm happy to move that. Ray Timmerman.
Thank you, Ray. Can I have a seconder, please?
I'll second.
All right, thank you. That's Isabel, right?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, discussion. All right, seeing there's no discussion, could we have the poll, please?
Closing the poll in 10 seconds.
Dennis, I have a question while we wait.
Yeah.
Are the results as to who voted for and against in any of these positions, are they secret ballot? So that
the poll is secret ballot, Michelle. The obviously the motions where we didn't have the poll, everybody saw the ballots.
right. So the elections officer is Eric, and he's not going to share specifics of who voted for what with the board or the organization.
Secret ballot. It's a poll. It's a secret ballot. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, closing the poll in 3, 2, 1.
And in this case of this poll, I see that we are exceeding the threshold of 50% for both candidates. And so I declare both candidates now to be elected to the SOS Board of Directors. And once again, we, I think, should applaud them. It doesn't work as well as in live on that, just so we know. Our third category is term renewals for 2 board members, myself and Lori. And Anita, you will be again leading on this.
Okay. Yeah, again, the SOS board recommends that the following slate of board directors who have completed their 2021 to 2023 term be elected to the SOS Board of Directors for a next 2-year term, May 2023 to May 2025. They are Dennis Papp, Lori Ringart, and we need a motion.
Can I have a mover in regard to this particular item? Could I please have a mover?
Yeah. Oh, John?
All right, John. John Barodi, can I have a seconder, please?
Or Ray Timmerman
Okay.
or someone else.
Any
other than me.
discussion in regard to these motions? Seeing as there's no discussion, let's have the poll.
Yeah,
We're just awaiting the poll results. I don't know what you're drinking, Anita, but it looks
4
good.
seconds.
All right, we're waiting.
Closing the poll in 3, 2, and 1.
Thank you. All right, so I see that both of these polls have exceeded the threshold of 50%. And so I declare myself and Lori onto the Board of Directors for Save Our Seine for next year. And so thank you very much. And this completes the business of the board for tonight. That's one of the more interesting and eventful evenings that we've had in terms of business at Save Our Seine. I want to thank everyone for participating. Indicates that, you know, we have a vibrant organization and that we, you know, we're paying attention. And so I appreciate everyone's contribution to the session tonight. And we'll now move on to the next part of our agenda.
could I ask you one question about the election?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, you only have 12 members. Did you have more people ask to be members?
I'll ask Lori. I don't know the answer to that. The nominating committee?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Yeah. So
No,
let's move on.
I just wondered if there were more requested and if there was a screening process.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, if we, yeah, we did not have any more.
All right,
Yeah,
that's good. Thank you.
yeah. There was one person, to be honest, but they were underage. There was one person, Roy, that was underage, but was very interested in being on the board. But that was the only other person.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah. Happy to have more people when we put it out there.
Yes, yes, you need more people.
Yeah. So moving on, thanks everyone. It was good discussions and appreciate all the discussions. Recognition of leaving board directors. So on to the next slide. This past year, we had 5 board directors leave early during the year for various commitments that they had. Just want to recognize them. Paul Turan, Victoria Grima, David Moore, Paul Vino, and Chloe Burgess. So thanks to all these people, they made a great contribution on the board, and just wanted to recognize them at this time. So thank you. Thanks to these people. And move along to the next slide, please. And I do want to recognize Isabel Bertazzo. She's been on the board for several years now, and Isabel has made an incredible contribution to Save Our Seine. Isabel has, I can tell you, she's been on the governance committee, the land care committee. She was on a transition committee that we had last year. All sorts of input on the board. Could always really count on Isabel over the years when we've given recognition to board directors as they're leaving. Isabel was instrumental in a lot of that. So Isabel, I just want everyone here to know that we presented Isabel a gift at our last board meeting. And Isabel, we're going to miss you, but we know that you're going to be around with land care. And so thank you. Thank you, Isabel, for everything you've done.
Thank you. Isabel normally picks the gifts or buys the gifts for outgoing board members. Did she arrange for her own gift?
No. We didn't.
No,
we didn't. We didn't give.
No, but it was a lovely gift.
Yeah. So thanks, Isabel. We'll see you on the trail.
Absolutely.
Going to the next slide. Yeah. So I do want everyone to. Our evening's getting late here, but I just wanted to highlight that we have an excellent annual report, and I want you to take the time. You can download it from our website. But there was a lot of great activities in this last year. And I just want to thank everyone that contributed to the annual report and everyone that was involved with such great work last year. And so in the interest of time, I'm just going to say, please take some time to look at it, download it, print it. Excellent work. Reno recognized Lindsay Kane, our administrative coordinator, that helped to pull this all together this year. And also Michelle Buchanan, who is a graphic designer who contributed a lot of in-kind to this work as well. So thank you, and thanks to everyone for great work on the annual report. So I'll move on to Ryan. Ryan is our new managing director. We've been so pleased to have Ryan working with us. Started in December and just jumped right in there, Ryan, and started. I remember the first day that he started, he actually applied for a grant for us. So Ryan's been
got it.
And we got it too. So yeah. So Ryan's going to talk to us briefly about some of the things that are happening in 2023 so that the members can see what's happening. Over to you, Ryan.
Hi, everybody. I assume everyone can hear me. As Lori graciously introduced, I'm Ryan Palmquist. I just started in December 2022 as managing director, and I've come to Save Our Seine after previously 8 years at Winnipeg City Hall in the office of City Councillor Matt Allard. So I just kind of wanted to quickly start off by thanking my predecessor, interim executive director Jennifer Sand, and the outgoing project coordinator Kristen Caballo, who spent 2 to 3 weeks onboarding me with Save Our Seine, showing me all of the tools and functions of the organization, including QuickBooks, Canada Helps, Better Impact. And obviously, huge thank you to Lori and the entire board, who were very, very helpful and very hands-on in passing on to me their tremendous institutional knowledge and experience. So yeah, the first few weeks I got into Save Our Seine, and knowing the time, I will dive right into what's coming up. Probably the biggest single thing for this year and next is the Urban Restoration and Enhancement Initiative, the biggest new project in Save Our Seine, which was piloted last year to great success, as you can see on the screen here, as Chris Penner, Save Our Seine member and sometimes consultant, including now, showing U of M students invasive species removal at Morier Park. He is returning to support the 2023 and 2024 URE. And this program essentially is a large umbrella term for a number of interconnected initiatives which seek to bring a more data-driven and science-based approach to ecological restoration and enhancement. It will include wetland restoration, tree planting, native grasses at a variety of locations from the Bois des Esprits up into the Niagara Golf Course, other public golf courses, and beyond. We have so far to this project, which includes almost $300,000 worth of grant applications towards it, received a $100,000 Conservation Trust grant from Manitoba Habitat Heritage Corporation, as well as 2 small tree planting grants from TD Arbor Day Fund and Trees Canada, which was the grant, 2 grants actually, that I applied for in my first couple days on the job, $3,500 each. And we'll be partnering with the City of Winnipeg, the Naakwa Golf and Country Club, who are one of our strongest patrons and supporters, as well as city golf courses and the Manitoba Métis Federation. A number of the activities that will be funded out of the Conservation Trust Grant in particular, and seen here at the recent announcement where that grant was announced along with $9 million from the provincial government for a variety of water stewardship projects across Manitoba. Includes the creation of a GIS mapping system, green infrastructure and wetland restoration, riverbank trees and water filtration, particularly at the Naakwa Golf Course, reforestation and tree planting. One location coming up is behind Meadowood Manor on what I've dubbed the Meadowood Manor Triangle, which is a sort of open grassed space right beside the Seine River to the rear of Meadowood Manor, corner of Meadowood and St. Anne's, which will be expanding the footprint of the riparian forested area away from the river, as well as the creation, probably one of the most exciting parts is the creation of an educational and demonstration node at Blenheim Park in the Glenwood neighborhood, which Chris Penner and his work will be very closely involved with, and as well as the Public Outreach Education Committee and more. Who will be creating a focal space with art and place and seating and place for gathering, as well as enhancing the ecological quality of that park. We are, as with every year, running the Save Our Seine summer team, and very happy to announce that returning riverkeeper from last year, Abby Rodrigue, has been hired and will be taking over as the coordinator of the summer team, for which we've already secured the Canada Summer Jobs Grant and a generous $30,000 grant from the Manitoba government for the part of the Urban Hometown Green Team grant. We'll also be working in partnership with the MMF, who have their own worker who will be based in and around the Bois des Esprits area. And the summer team will be supporting the work of the URE program as well, sometimes coming off the river to do tree planting, invasive species removal, and more. This is a picture of this picture here on the screen is from last year. The person on the left is Barb, last year's coordinator, and the person on the right is Abby Rodrigue, our incoming 2023 coordinator. We are also taking on an exciting project called the, which we've dubbed for now, working title, the Save Our Seine History Project, which is funded out of a $15,000 grant we secured from the Winnipeg Foundation Centennial Fund. This project will, among other things, allow us to hire a researcher and field worker, Catherine Terra, we have hired, who is a St. Boniface resident from right near the Seine River. With a history of working in history and field research for the RM of Lac du Bonny, where she will be interviewing past Save Our Seine members and activists to record their experiences in history and create a living memory and a digital archive of many of our records, as well as serving as, I think, importantly, to serve as a cautionary tale for the future generations about what, not just the great work that Save Our Seine has done, but why Save Our Seine had to do this work in the first place, why Save Our Seine was and is needed, and what happened to the Seine River without a stewardship community looking after it. So we're very excited about that project, and Catherine is already underway with a meeting coming up this Friday to hash out some details. We have also gone for and received received one of the 2 so far, 2 grants that are about strengthening the organizational capacity and culture of Save Our Seine. The one that we have received is another Winnipeg Foundation grant, $6,500, which will fund the creation of staff policies and procedures book for right now is myself and Lindsay, but soon to be Abby and the Riverkeepers, and perhaps more as Save Our Seine grows into the future. It will also provide a board policies and procedures manual. As well, we had been hoping to get funding for a safety manual for the summer team. Although we didn't achieve the full grant that we wanted, HR Matters has graciously offered to provide us one pro bono in recognition of the importance of safety for our team members, as well as a number of other organizations that have stepped forward, including Paddle Manitoba and the Manitoba Building Trades, to provide training and safety work for our summer team. We also have applied for and are waiting on information on the Federal Community Services Recovery Grant, which is a federal granting program that's essentially designed for nonprofit organizations, NGOs, to rebuild and recover from the challenges that they faced during the COVID-19 pandemic. There are a number of initiatives that we hope to fund through that grant, including several strategic planning exercises, bringing on a IT support capacity as a consultant, as well as a communications plan and creating a virtual office and funding our project management platform. Over here on the right, this photo, you'll see the timeline, in fact, for the delivery of the board policy manual and the staff policy manuals, which are, as you can see, coming up right away. We also continue, as always, the advocacy work of Save Our Seine with some of our great partners in all levels of government. Featured here in particular, probably our strongest and best champion, Councillor Brian Mays, who Lori and Dennis and myself met with a couple of months ago to discuss a number of policy areas, including the Sumpka Forest. He gave us a great tip about the upcoming combined sewer upgrade project that the city will be undertaking in a couple of years initiating the work on it a couple of years in the Mission Industrial area, which will, in addition to upgrading those sewers and reducing the amount of untreated sewage and untreated water that's outflowing into the Seine River, it will also come with it millions of dollars in investment for green infrastructure. So that was a really invaluable insight that Councillor Mays provided us that we will be sure to be preparing for in the coming months and years. Brian and in particular new Minister Kevin Klein at the provincial level have given us some very encouraging and positive news about the ongoing decade-long work to permanently preserve and protect the Sumpka Forest, or the Bois des Esprits 2.0, as it's been informally dubbed by some. And we are very grateful to have such effective and valuable partners in that advocacy. As well, and I would give a quick shout out as well to Dave Watson, longtime, Save Our Seine, we'll call him associate for the time being, his current status. And Dave has been doing some incredible work in the Creek Bend area, South St. Anne's, related to the development of his envisioned park right beside the Ames Road Bridge. And so we continue to support his work, and as well as the work of the Union Nationale Métis and their development of the Vermette Park, which is very, very intimately related to the Sumpka lands. We have, over the last little bit, already conducted several public outreach and engagement events. The Public Outreach and Engagement Committee has done some fantastic work. There was a Jane's Walk just last weekend, as well as a walk along the beginning at the Royalwood Bridge 3 weeks ago. On the picture, you can see my son playing with the rock painting station that the committee set up, as well as we hosted a very fun event in partnership with Winnipeg Trails Association and the and the Kilter Brewery, where we got people skiing on the Seine River with a more winter-focused effort, and that was very fun, very exciting. As well, I want to thank another community organization, St. Boniface Street Links, who sent their residents in Moorburg House out to participate with us at the community cleanup at the end of Earth Month. And those are the kind of partnerships and links with other community organizations and activists that we have been doing just so far this year and will continue to grow upon. And as a quick note to say that we also raised $600 at that Kilter event. So that was very, that was very good. We have entertained a number of other conceptual ideas that aren't quite ready for prime time yet when it comes to fundraising and growing the financial capacity of the organization, but some great preliminary work going on, and look forward to updating everyone on some of the great ideas that are going to be coming forward in the next little while on growing Save Our Seine's bottom line. And that concludes it for me.
Thanks so much, Ryan. So I think everyone can see there's a lot that's happening at Save Our Seine, a lot of good projects, and we're just waiting for some of our other grants to come in. And stay tuned and watch the e-news. We'll be letting you know about those. So moving on, Dennis, for you and I, just we'll open it up if there's any questions that anyone has regarding any of the activities or anything else that anyone wants to bring up. I see Julie Katie.
Yes, I have a question. I didn't notice any update on the rainforest that was rain garden, pardon me, that was installed a few years ago at the Superstore at Fermer. I'm wondering if you can give me an update on that.
So what we're doing there, Julie, is we're continuing to clean that project, clean it as part of our URE project.
Is there a reason why it wasn't mentioned among the projects?
Might jump in. We've done a lot of work. The first photo of if no one minds if I scroll back, the first photo of my report, in fact, was myself at the rain garden at a cleanup that we did 2 weeks ago, and organized by Robin Palmer. And we are continuing to support and maintain the rain garden.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Probably getting late, Lori. It's what it is.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay, so I don't have any other questions. I think people are getting tired. So I think with that, I want to say thank you to everyone. Thanks for staying so long for the meeting. I think there was some good discussion that was held tonight. Good to have everyone engaged. Really appreciate everyone's support of Save Our Seine. And with that, I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Also move, Ray.
From Ray, and second.
I'll second.
Was that Anita?
Isabel.
Thanks, Isabel. All in favor?
Yes.
Raise your hands. your little
That
hand.
one.
Oh,
Yeah.
raise hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. The meeting's adjourned. Thank you so much. We'll see you at the next AGM.